welcome to Dr. Amber Thornton's Know and Grow podcast, where you're never alone in navigating life's biggest moments and toughest lessons. Join me, Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist, mother of two, as I explore motherhood, parenting, relationships, career, mental health, and the ongoing journey of personal evolution. No, it doesn't stop. These conversations will absolutely make you laugh, may make you cry, will get you to reflect, but more importantly, you'll grow and we'll get to grow together. So I'm glad you're here, and I hope that you'll come back. Tune in weekly for informative, thought-provoking, inspiring conversations right here with me. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dr. Amber's Know and Grow podcast. It's good to hear from you, good to talk to you. And by saying good to hear from you, it's good to hear from those of you who have reached out to me about the podcast and how you've been enjoying it, how it's been feeling for you. I've really appreciated and enjoyed the conversations that are coming from this podcast. So if you're enjoying it, please, I want to give you a reminder, leave a review. You can leave it on YouTube in the comments. You can leave it on whatever podcasting app that you're enjoying listening to. Just share with people that you like listening to this podcast, because I'm absolutely loving recording it. So it's a new week, you all. I hope that you are ready for a new week. And to start the podcast today, like I shared with you last week, I want to talk some astrology, just a tiny bit, a little bit. Let's talk astrology a little bit, just to give you something that I'm thinking about for the week. And actually, the first thing I want to do in this very first astrology segment that we will have is actually share with you the 3 astrology tools that I use and that help me the most in my journey of understanding astrology, but then also like how to connect with other people through astrology. And so the first thing I'll say is this, and this is not sponsored, it should be though, the Pattern app. I love the Pattern app. I've been using the Pattern app for a few years now. If you don't have it, check it out, especially if you're into astrology or just want to know a little bit more about your birth chart, want to learn a little bit about transits and aspects that might be influencing you. Download the Pattern app, because in it you can put in your birth details. You then will get a copy of your birth chart in the actual app, and then it also lets you know what aspects and transits are coming through for you that are influencing you or impacting you in this moment, but then also in the coming months. It's just super helpful. And then it gives you like things to read about with regard to the day, the weeks, the months that you're in, and just how to think about that or how to reflect for it or how to anticipate how you might feel. But my favorite thing about the Pattern app is that you can connect with other people on there, and then you get to see their birth charts. And also just have a better feel for who they are. And so I'm connected with several of my friends on there because I'm in this process of really trying to understand astrology, and it helps me to learn when I can look at someone else's chart and then kind of piece together or interpret what's going on for them, but also how it might be different from me based on my birth chart. I also basically have my entire family, my children included. I made many profiles in there so that I could just see their birth charts. And that actually is pretty dope because I get to understand them better through it. So, Pattern app, download it. If you find me on there, add me as a friend. Let's connect. Message me, DM me about your Pattern app experience for sure. Number two, you all, there is this podcast that I listen to called Nightlight Astrology Podcast. Nightlight Astrology Podcast. I'm going to give you a disclaimer. This is a middle-aged white man. And I am saying that because I know my audience is mostly women of color. And so what I will say for me personally, I tend to gravitate more towards people of color, women of color, Black women when it comes to seeking information about life, about spirituality, all of that. And so when I discovered this podcast, I was actually really surprised at how it fit and aligned well with me and how I like to think about astrology. This man, I have basically listened to every day in the last year. And it's because he posts content every day. He posts a podcast episode every day. And every day it is so informative just with regard to how to understand astrology for you, but also what's going on in terms of transits that's happening. I've learned so much just literally listening to this man for the last year. I've learned so much. Check it out. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. And I first started listening to him because he had a series, and some of you all might be aware of this if you follow me on Instagram. He had a series about how to parent children based on their sign, their astrology, their zodiac sign, and that drew me in for sure. And I started listening to that series, and then I got hooked and started listening to all of his episodes, all of his stuff. So again, Nightlight Astrology, check it out, see what you think about it. Lastly, y'all, my astrologer, and I call her my astrologer because she's the only one that I have actually worked with to have readings. Her name is Noelle. And I told myself I was going to look up her information before I started this. And of course, I forgot. So let me try to do it real quick. Um, Noelle is the person that I work with when I want to have my own readings. She is on Instagram at AstroX Noelle G. AstroXNoelleg. I hope she doesn't mind that I've shared this information because now some of you might reach out to get a reading. I didn't tell her I was going to share her information, but I love her. Black woman, very good at what she does. She also is a doctorate student in psychology, so she gets to blend psychology with astrology, and it makes her even better for it. So absolutely check her out. She's the one that did my 2024 reading, my 2023 reading, and I'm definitely working with her every year on that. So that's where we are with astrology. I hope those three resources help you or at least get you curious about something, give you something fun to do today. Let's shift into what I really want to talk about for today. And I want to talk to you about New Year's. As you're listening to this, if you're listening to this on the day that it is released, it is January 8th. You might be listening to this throughout the week. So that means it's still early January of 2024, right? And I have been thinking a lot about the new year, especially when it comes to being a mother, when it comes to being a professional who is busy and who feels like they're in their busiest time of their life. Like right now, I see myself in my life, my kids, my family, and I often think like we are in the busiest time of our lives. And I think that's the case with many millennials right now, especially those of us who have young children, those of us who are like seemingly in the peak of our career. Like you never really know where the peak is because sometimes that peak might be later in life, but you never know, right? But it feels like we are in this particular time period where things are so busy, things are moving so fast, there are so many demands, there are so many responsibilities, and there's also not as much help. I've been thinking a lot about that too, just with regard to like, why do things feel like they are so much harder for us, right? Like many of us looked at our moms or our families when we were growing up and realized that they were doing so much. And then it's like, but damn, I'm struggling to do this, like this stuff over here. And it's really because the support looks different, the help looks different. What I will say is that many of our parents, not all, this is not an absolute, but more so I'm speaking from my experience, many of our parents parented within a village. And for millennials or those of us who kind of parenting today, there's this absence of that. We are often parenting in isolation. And I think we're feeling it because we need more help. We need more support. Saying all that to say, that's how I think about this current season of life that I'm in. And I know that this season of life is going to be a long season. My kids are going to be small for a while. Things are going to feel hectic for a while. Like my youngest child is not even in school yet, right? She's a daycare. So things are going to feel this way for a while. When the new year came, I started to think about what I used to do for New Year's Eve. Um, Me pre children, New Year's used to be my favorite time of year. It was my favorite holiday behind my birthday. One thing about me, my birthday and New Year's are my favorite times of year. And it's because it's always a fresh start. You get to start over, you get to start fresh. It's a perfect time to reflect on, how are things feeling? What do you want for the next year of your life? Where are you? What progress have you made? What mistakes did you make? What lessons are you needing to learn, or what lessons have you learned? Birthdays and New Year's are perfect opportunities for that. And I am one who thrives in that type of energy. I'm always thinking about starting fresh or starting new or progressing and developing. And so those times of years are so awesome for me. Um, Me pre children, me pre motherhood, I used to take the day, New Year's Eve, and I would spend it with myself mostly. And I would just be with myself. I would go slow. I would probably drink some tea, might exercise that morning, do the things that bring me joy, all the while really deep in my thoughts. Deep in my thoughts about, how is life feeling for me right now? What are the things I really want for my life? Um, all the things I said, basically. What are the lessons that I've learned? That was my process for New Year's Eve. I was never really the type that wanted to go out or to do any. I wanted to be by myself and reflect on what life feels like, where life has taken me, where I want to go. Um, Fast forward to now. Honestly, even fast forward to being married and having a partner, regardless of how joyous that is, being partnered or married shifts things. And I noticed that shift first then when I got married. New Year's Eve started to look different because I was sharing it with someone else. And so that's when I started to notice, this is different. The way that I like to spend this time of year, I'm now sharing with someone else, and we get to make new traditions around it for sure. But I missed that self reflection that I used to engulf myself in prior to becoming a mom and a wife, and back when it was just me in my 20s living my life. Now fast forward to having children, and I very much realized yo, I can barely get an hour to myself on New Year's Eve to reflect, and it just didn't feel like enough. And so I don't know about you all, but this year for New Year's Eve, I very much felt grateful, for getting through 2023, where the year has gotten me. I got some amazing things coming up for 2024. My family has grown, all the good things for sure. But also felt myself feeling some mm, I'm trying to think if sadness is too strong of a word. Basically, I missed the time I used to have where I used to reflect by myself, be engulfed in my thoughts, and really just be to myself with that. I miss that. And I felt it a lot this year. I just really, there was a part of me this year that was like, I really just want to go away and to just be with my thoughts and myself for like a day. Even if it's just half a day. I miss that space I used to have. And I think it's just a reflection of, I know I'm not the only one that feels this when you become a parent and specifically a mother. Those opportunities, those spaces that we used to have, that stillness changes. And I think we talked about this in the last episode. It's like there's two things happening. It's like on one hand, you're so full of love and joy and gratitude for the children you have, the family you have, the progress you all have made, watching them grow and watching yourself grow. Like, you wouldn't trade that for the world. And you still miss those other parts of life. You still miss those other parts of yourself. You still are like grappling with, like, how does this actually feel? Because I miss this other part of myself, or this other thing I used to do, this other space I used to have. I miss it so much. Um, I don't know if that goes away. I guess I'll find out in like 10 years. I mean, and that's, here we are at the point of this podcast, right? There's so much that I know just from the life experiences that I've had, the degree that I have, the experiences I've had working as a psychologist. And there's also so much that I don't know. There's so many areas that I'm growing in. There's so much that I'm experiencing. And like I'm sharing here to you, this year for New Year's, I really missed um, the solitude, the quiet, the stillness that I used to use to reflect on the year and then to prepare for the next year. So because that's where I'm at right now in life, and that's what I'm doing, and that's, how my family operates, um I didn't really set any goals this year. It's new year and no goals. And I also used to be one where I, for a while, I was very much like, new year, new goals, we're going hard. And then that shifted to new year, what's the word for the year? Me and my friend, we did that for several years for a while, where it was like, okay, well, what's your word? I remember I started doing that, I think in 2016, which crazy is like 8 years ago at this point. But I started to shift from like these hardcore goals to, well, what's your word or your theme for the year? And this year was the very first year where, I tried to pull for that. I tried to think about, well, what's my theme? What's my focus? What's my word? And nothing came. No words, no theme, no focus. Literally, I went into 2024 with no new goals, no themes, no focus for the year. And for me, what I think that means for me is that instead, I'm just going to try to be present and just take each day as it comes, and be more flexible and open to what comes my way. I think I'm choosing to interpret this like silence that came to me as I tried to reflect, y'all, while my kid was at home sick, while we were like in the thick of it with the kids being home for weeks at a time, right? 'Cause those are the conditions that I was trying to reflect in, and they weren't optimal. So I'm choosing not to take this as, well, you didn't have time, you didn't have space, so nothing for the year. Instead, I'm taking it as that nothing actually just means the universe wants me to be present. It wants me to be present. It wants me to be open. It wants me to be flexible with regard to what comes. And that's essentially what I'm doing with my life now. We just talked about how I miss reflecting. I miss the time I used to have to do that. I miss it. That's not reality right now. And so I have to be open to what the now is, and I have to be flexible with it as well, because it is a change. And I have to be okay with it and learn how to navigate it. And that's what I'm doing. Learning how to navigate these spaces and these new changes means embracing it, and also feeling the sadness or the grief or the loss that comes when you miss what used to be. So that's where I'm at. It's 2024 and I don't have a theme, I don't have a focus, but instead I'm really just trying to be present and be open with what comes. all the while, like, yeah, there's things I want to work on this year. Like, we started the podcast. I want to be consistent with that. I have my new book coming out in June, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. If you haven't pre-ordered it, trust me, conversations about the book are coming. Um, you know, this year is the year where my youngest will start pre-K 3, and then both of my kids will be in the same school, ideally. And so I'll have two kids in school, no more daycare, right? Me and my husband are working on things in our marriage. And so there's things that I want to work towards, but all the while I'm learning and accepting that through the course of a year, a lot can change, a lot can happen. My mind might change. Dynamics in my family might change. Things might come up. And so I think life this year just wants me to be open and flexible and embrace all the things that might come. And that's my goal for this year. Goal, I guess. It's a goal, right? I just said there's no goals, but that's the focus, the goal. Just be here. Just be here. Be flexible, be okay with what is reality. I'm curious for you all. Feel free to reach out to me. Let me know, what are your focuses for the year if you have one. Is it a word? Is it a theme? Is it a goal? Is it something you want to be consistent with? Or are you feeling like me and kind of thinking, this year it's really just going to be in life? Like, just be in life, be present in life, be open to life, be flexible with what comes. Because I think that is really the vibe for people who are in a season similar to mine, where you have kids. They might be small, there's a lot going on, you might be partnered, may not be partnered, but you might be in the thick of your career, you got a lot going on, there's not a lot of help. That space really requires us to be very present, be very flexible, be very open. That's the vibe and the tone. So I hope that was helpful for some of you all, especially if you feel yourself trying to like pull for, you know, these goals that might stretch you too much. Stretching is good. Stretching is important. We need to grow, but we also don't want to break, right? Like, I actually was just having a conversation with a client about this, and just this pressure that she was feeling to like improve herself. And we started to like get to these parts of herself where I was realizing, I don't think this is something you need to improve. I instead think this is just something you have to accept about yourself, right? These details of life, or these parts of you that have been a part of you for most of your life. Yeah, some of them we can unlearn them, and we'll talk a ton about unlearning on this podcast, but sometimes there's parts of us and parts of our lives that we don't need to change, and instead we just need to accept. We just need to embrace. Even if there comes some discomfort with that, the reality of this is really what it actually is, and I need to be open to it and accept it. That's hard, but it's necessary. So, this feels like a good time to actually pull out the affirmation deck, because you all know I want to end every episode with one of these. I'm going to shuffle it, and we'll just see what comes up. Hopefully, it'll be something that is relevant to our conversation today, just with regard to going into this next season, this next year of life, being open, being present, being flexible. Accepting ourselves and the realities of life. That is something that actually I talk about a lot in the new book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. There is a framework that is the foundation of the book called the PCR method, that helps you to be practical, realistic, and conscious. Well, practical, conscious, and realistic about what's going on for you, to help you manage dysregulation as a parent. And right now, today, it feels like we're talking about that realistic part. Can we be realistic? Can we accept and embrace? Can we practice radical acceptance? And I think we can. We just have to be intentional about it, and commit to it even when it's uncomfortable. Okay, I'm shuffling the deck. Oh no, I dropped. Oh no, I dropped one. Oh no. Okay, I'm not gonna look at the one that I dropped, because that's not the one for today. Okay. Okay, one more shuffle. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna do this one because this one is sticking out. Okay. Okay. I think this one is a good fit. Are you all ready? It says, my life is about a journey. Oh, wow. Not a destination. I enjoy and make the best of every step of the way. My life is about a journey, not a destination. I enjoy and make the best of every step of the way. That very much feels aligned with our conversation today and this podcast, too. It's a journey, y'all. We ain't going nowhere. I mean, we are, but it's not about where we're going. It's about the process that we go through to get there. And that is absolutely a lesson that I'm learning. It reminds me of the last episode, actually, when I was talking about the discontentment I felt with Balanced Working Mama and how it literally tried to drive me crazy. And it was because I was too focused on this destination of where I wanted to go, what I wanted it to become, where I wanted to go be, and it wasn't there. And because I was so focused on that destination that, like, who knew if we would ever get there, I couldn't enjoy the journey. I couldn't enjoy the process. And so this is what I want for my life this year, to enjoy the process of the year, to enjoy the journey that the year takes me on, and less about these things that I want to get done in the year. I want to go on the journey, and I want to go on a journey with you too through this podcast. And so I hope that this sticks for you today. I hope that this is a good affirmation for you to embrace the rest of the week with. Y'all, okay, we did it, another episode. Oh, I hope y'all enjoyed this today. Let me know what you think of this podcast. I want to hear from you. You can DM me. Y'all know where to find me on Instagram. Y'all got my email. It's in the show notes. I also send emails to you all. If you are not on my email list, you should join. Go to my website, dramberthornton.com. There are several ways to join the email list. You also could go to Instagram, click the link in the bio, and that'll be another way that you can join the email list specifically about updates for the podcast. I'll try to include that in the show notes as well. But either way, if you want to hear from me weekly, absolutely get on my email list, and that's the perfect way to do it. Don't forget to leave a review for the podcast, and I'm excited for this journey that we're going to go on together. All right, y'all. I will talk to you all next week. Thank you so much for listening to Dr. Amber's Know and Grow podcast. I love that you're here. I love that we're learning together. We're growing together. We're navigating all these things together. We're really in this together. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. That is so important because it helps this podcast grow. And it also gives me some feedback on how it's landing for you. Please share this podcast with someone that you love or someone that you know. And don't forget to connect with me on social media at Dr. Amber Thornton. I'll talk to you soon.